Welcome to Area 10 Goes Glo-Bell, the Area 10 2021 Virtual Handbell Conference. My name is Barb Sylvie, and I am the president of Area 10, which includes all sorts of states, which I love. And I have been ringing bells since, 1990. And I started in a church where I just came in to go to church there, and there was a bell choir singing, and playing, and I thought, oh, wow, I need to do those. And now up to this point, I solo ring, and I ring at big national events, and I ring at Bayview and internationally, and I own my own set of bells. So be careful, because it can be very contagious. With all the hope we can muster, this will be the last time we have to gather this way. However, since our 2021 event had to be virtual, we decided to go big, and we invited clinicians from all over the world. They're going to share their handbell knowledge and experiences with us. We're looking forward to 2022, when all our regional events will be live and in person. Check out the Area 10 website, clicking on area events for all the current details. Our first regional event in 2022 is in February, which is really not that far off. I would like to remind you that this is a free event, and all the people who have contributed have done so volunteering. However, as you know how these things go, donations are gladly accepted to help us defray the cost of putting on this virtual event. Look for the Donate to PayPal button below the live stream or on the Area 10 website. Before we get started, I would like to thank the following Area 10 board members for being part of the weekend. They will be helping to keep things moving along. Derek Nance, our technical producer for Area 10 Goes Glo-Bell. Without Derek's technical wizardry, there would be no virtual event. Glenn Haskell, past chair, who will host Saturday morning sessions and participate in some of the question and answer panels. Shelley Geyer, chair-elect, who will host Saturday afternoon sessions and participate in the Q&A panels. Shosh Meyer, secretary, who will host a Saturday afternoon session and participate in some of the Q&A panels. Caroline Valentine, Alaska chair, hooray, who will be part of the Friday evening Q&A panels. And finally, our producer for Area 10 Goes Glo-Bell, and who, without, oh my goodness, I can't even start to tell you the number of hours she spent doing this to make this fabulous event. Diane Barnes, our event chair for Area 10. We begin our world tour in Asia with Emily Lee and Damian Lim, where it is already Saturday. Without further ado, I open Area 10 Goes Glo-Bell with the ringing of this bell. Emily Lee holds a master's degree in music, majoring in composition. She started ringing in 1986 and has since developed an obsession with this instrument, which I already told you about earlier. She received her handbell training and renowned experts on performance, conducting, and composition in the United States for many years, and completed the graduate handbell program at Concordia University in Wisconsin. Having the mission to promote handbell ringing in Hong Kong, Emily founded the Hong Kong Handbell Academy in 2004, with aims to provide handbell resources and proper training for the younger generation. Anyone who has seen her choirs ring will understand that she has been very successful. She founded the Handbell Association of Hong Kong and organized the annual Hong Kong Handbell Festival, which has been held every year since 2006. At present, she is the artistic director of the Academy, chairperson of the Handbell Association of Hong Kong, director of the Hong Kong Youth Handbell Ensemble, and the principal guest conductor for Ministry of Bells in Singapore. Emily believes that a solid foundation is essential in handbell training of all ages. She particularly loves nurturing youngsters holistically through ringing. Her youth ensemble has performed around the world. She served as the clinician and master ringing conductor of the 15th, 16th, and 17th International Handbell Symposium in Liverpool, Korea, and Vancouver. In addition to all her work with choirs, Emily is also a published composer and handbell soloist. She performed as a handbell soloist at the National Seminar Concert, Cincinnati 2012, served as the director of the Hong Kong Youth Ensemble Handbell Ensemble at the final concert, Portland 2013, directed the All-Stars Choir, Atlanta 2014, and at Distinctly Teen in Grand Rapids 2017. I give you Emily Lee.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Bob. Thank you, Derek. And thank you, Area 10, for this invitation, for this very innovative event, to let me share my ringing experience with you. We are using a Zoom-based interface when I'm teaching, so I hope I can see you, but I know you are all here. So in the following hour, we are going to learn something maybe new, and we get to experience some of the magical moments with your body. And I hope that you will enjoy today's workshop and as well as the rest of the other programs of this event. So Bob has given a very detailed introduction to me, so I'm not going to talk about myself anymore. So today's workshop's topic is called Ringing Musically. So as a ringer or a conductor, we all want to play as musical as we could. We all want to be a good group, a musical group that our audience will like, and we all want to enjoy the music that we like. How I get into body work and body movement can go back to 2011, when I started to take a somatic class and bodywork class with a dance teacher. At that time, before that, my knowledge in bells ringing is very superficial, and my thought of a musical ringer must must have the ingredients that you are already a music player of another instrument, or either you are already a musician. In that way, you can be a musical ringer. If you don't have any musical background or you don't play an instrument, and you will have to struggle a lot, and maybe eventually they can't be a good ringer. So in my early teaching process, I always told people, if you want to choose a good group, pick someone who played the piano, pick someone who sang in a choir, pick someone who has music major, and that will make you a good group. After I have taken this somatic class, that completely changed my thinking, and all of a sudden I realized how powerful our body is, and if we are able to translate this knowledge with our ringer, everyone can be a good musician. Everyone can play musically, and everyone can play excellent in a team. So in the study of bodywork, I spent 3 hours every week to work with the teacher to take a look from the inside of myself and an experiment of all kinds of motion that we made. For example, how do we breathe? How do we walk? How do we sit? how do we lift up our hand, etc., etc. This is a very valuable experience for over 4 years' time. I took it every week, and then I started to think about how do we translate this into bell ringing, because handbell is a movement art, and people like to watch us because we move beautifully. And how do we teach our ringer to move musically? It becomes a new mission in my teaching. So, and at the same time, when I was in the national seminar, I saw this book. Okay, maybe you already know about this already. Handbell Artistry from Inside Out by Kimberly Spricker. So this book applies the Laban movement as a base, as a foundation, and then Kim has a very thorough research and study on between the relation of movement and bell ringing. So when I see this book, I would say, "Oh my gosh, someone is thinking along the same page." So I'm very excited, and this makes me feeling more confirmed that I need to work on this area. And then I use my knowledge, and I work with my ringer, my youth choir, and also my adult ringer. So we work for a few years. We develop a new language to communicate, and I found it very successful, and that's the reason why I choose to share with you this topic this morning. Okay, so now let me share my screen. Okay. So ringing is a whole body movement to me. Ringing is not just about your hand. It's not just about your hand. It's not just about your wrist, not about your arm or your shoulder. It's much more than that. Ringing is a whole body movement. Okay, take a look at this video and and look at the ringer and see how they move. Okay. Okay. Let me share the screen again. Okay. It's freaking out when you're in a Zoom lesson with all these technology stuff. I can't find my share screen button. Let's see. Okay. Am I still here? Yes? Yes. But I'm in the wrong screen. So how do I stop sharing? Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. Did you see this video? See the video screen? Okay. Okay. So take a look at the movement of these ringers. Okay, there's no sound on purpose. But see how they move. See how they pick up a bell? Prepare to ring. And then get to the next one. And see how their body coordinates with their motion. And see their feet. Okay. All right. So you can see from the ringer's body, when they ring, it's more than just two hands moving. Actually, your whole body coordinates with you. Okay, when we ring, or even any simple movement that we do every day, is all about coordination of the body like an orchestra. So each part coordinate with the other part. So For example, like walking. When a baby learns to walk, they need to try very hard. But once they master the motion, it's very easy. And when he stand up, he just know how to do it. And also like breathing, we don't need to know how we breathe, but we just know how to breathe. It is just strange that when we pick up the bell, all of a sudden we don't breathe anymore, unless the conductor reminds us. Um, and so when we ring or when we execute a movement, knowing that all parts of the body coordinates with each other. So so when you pick up a bell and you're ready to ring, actually the way you stand, the way you hold your bells, and even the way you breathe, it matters on how you produce the sound. And the optimum way to ring effectively is to, if we can use the very minimum effort to execute the ringing movement, then we will have a lot of remaining energies to deal with the musicality, and the gimmicks and the dance and the choreography and everything else. Take the baby's example. If we learn how to walk at ease, if we learn how to ring at ease, then we can do a lot of other things. Okay. So as a ringer, it's our responsibility, or it's our goal to achieve that ease in our motion and the ability to reduce effort. A lot of the times we feel so anxious and we feel so stiff whenever maybe an accidental comes up in the score, a rhythm change appear in the score, or the conductor asks me to memorize that four measures, and or if I have stage fright when I walk out, I feel so stiff, and all this will tense up our whole body's muscle. And when we tense up, we are not ringing at ease anymore. And then how do we ring musically? That will be a really big challenge to that. So so that's the concept. Ringing is a whole body movement. Next, oops, not this. Ringing has very close relationship with body movement. Ringing has very close relationship with body movement. Why saying that? Because the ringing motion will affect three things: the sound production, the musical line, and the fluency. Listen to this. When we ring a phrase, okay, I'm going to use two bells as my demonstration, so everything you hear will be monotone. But that's my purpose, because I want you to be more focused with the sound instead of thinking about the melody. So whenever I ring, I'm producing sound, I am making music, and in other words, I'm delivering a message. So how does the sound is produced? How well is the musical line constructed? And how fluent are you playing? So these three things is closely related to the movement that you produce with the bells in your hand. If we say, for a conductor, the baton, like this, the baton, if the baton is an extension of the conductor's hand, then I would say the bell is also an extension of the ringer's arms and hands. And we speak through our bells, just like the conductor speaks through his intention through the baton. So it's the same thing. A lot of the ringer, especially for more beginner ringers, when they hold up two bells, and they will say, "Oh my God, I have two bells. What do I do?" And they feel so stiff, and they often produce movement like this because they have a very tight grip. See this muscle? They are all very tense. Okay, and during the learning process of ringing, and what we are learning is to make all this tense feeling goes away, and then to let us ring at ease. So I want you to listen to a few examples of different sound. You can pay attention to how my body move, and in relation to the sound that you hear. Okay, I will play the same melody line as before. Okay. Okay, if you would describe the melody that I've just played, you would say, "Oh, it's very gentle, it's very flowing, um, it's expressive." Okay, here's the next one. So in the second example, I'm also very expressive, but I'm expressing the sound in a different way. It's much more extent, much more project, just like gliding along, just like skiing. My arm has larger movement, and my body tends to have a more directional movement. Here, the third one. Okay, in the third one, of course, I'm playing louder, and also I am exerting more expression um, into the melody. So, in other words, you can say simply, I'm more emotional. Okay, I am ringing. I'm making the melody more excited, as if this is the climax of the piece. Okay, so what I do indifferently is that I not only I extend my arms, I insert more weight in my ringing stroke, and then I connect with more space um, in front of me. Okay, so the sound just go out just like this. Okay, here's the fourth one. Okay, in the fourth one, I don't have much movement. My ringing is much more focused on in the front, and I have very little extension of the sound. So that's why your ear is much more two-dimensional. It's just like poking or tapping the bell. And sometimes we do need this kind of sound in some music. And then here a final one. Okay, in the last one, um, I ring with much force. I have inserted a lot of the accent in my ringing, so it's kind of strong, but it may not sound expressive as the previous one that I did with this motion. Okay, so this is a little demonstration for you to experience how our body movement affect the sound production. And if it happens, if a ringer ring like this, the conductor would probably say, can you be more musical? Can you ring? Can you sing the melody and ring? Or can you pay more attention to the shape and the contour line of the melody? This happened more often in junior ringers before they could be more realized about what they're doing. A lot of the times when we don't pay much attention to the music or the way that we move, this will be the general sound that a bell choirs will get. Okay, so okay, the next point. Movement is a kind of energy transfer. So we all know that energy circulates. Okay, energy does circulate in a way. If we feel something and we want to express something, so the energy comes from ourselves, from the inside, and then we express it through external media, like we talk, if we sing a song, if we play a piece of music, or even if we want to punch someone. This is called energy transfer. Okay, if you feel really angry and before you punch your fist on the wall, and from the inside you can feel the anger and the tenseness and the force that you're going to really bang on it. Okay, so if you're ringing this with a bell, we can apply similar equations to that. Okay, if you want to express a really strong with anger, okay, you have the preparation like as if you want to punch someone, and then you transfer the sound directly into the bell. Conversely, if you want to express something very lovingly, okay, a very lovingly message, okay, you can be very gentle and your energy is very gentle. Okay, so when we perform, the first thing we should be engaged with the music. We engage the music through knowing how the music sounds and what the music is about during the rehearsals. And when we perform the music, we also need, during the process, we also need to convey the message into our body. Whether we are playing a very sentimental piece, and we are playing a very lively piece, and we are playing a piece that that is very sad, and when we want to almost want to cry, we play a lot of pieces for Christ's crucifixion, and that makes us feel really, really emotional at the climax when Christ is nailed on the cross. So and sometimes the song will go from very gently beginning when Jesus prayed at Gethsemane, and he is very, very sad. It's very painful. And when he goes to the cross, we feel the anger, and we feel the punching of the nail that is very cruel. And after the crucifixion, we might feel glory because Christ has made it. Okay, and then it brings new life, and so all of a sudden the lights become bright, and and everything becomes joyful. Okay, so if we can feel that change in the music, and if we can put all these feelings to our body and then express this through our movement, then it could produce a very effective musical performance for the group. Okay, and one thing I always told my ringer is this: when we want to convey our emotion, the first thing we need is to relax and at ease. I have put two Chinese words, we call it feng song. Song is loose, and feng song is to make loose. Okay, it doesn't mean you become floppy and without any support, but relax and at ease is a very important ingredients in my teaching. So whenever we rehearse any piece, when we are learning a new technique or we come up new challenge in the music, all we target for is to 放松. Okay, it is to relax, is to make yourself play at ease. It is not very easy for most of the people because we are so used to move against resistance. Okay, we rush to work, we have a lot of stress in the office, and we have to get into a very crowded metro, and the streets is full of people, especially in Hong Kong. So we are a very crowded city. So we kind of always moving through resistance, and we don't often have the chance to feel at ease. Okay, so when we play, first of all, let everything relax. So if you're tense, if you grab your bell very hard, then all of a sudden you will feel all this tension going up from here, all the way to here. And all you can produce is a very rigid sound without elasticity. Okay, so if you can just relax and ring at ease, and all of a sudden the sound becomes different, right? Okay, so this is theory. So when the conductor, often when we in the group, we will tell people, okay, just relax. Okay, yes, everybody can do this exercise very well. But when it goes back to the music, the stiffness return. Okay, when you look at the music, everything just tense up and oh my gosh, I can't play that. Okay, so it is the conductor's job to help your ringer to let go of the stuff that blocks him from being musical and block him from playing at ease. Okay, we can do a lot of the warm-up exercise, incorporate with the musical phrase that we're playing, and to make everyone feel comfortable, to make everyone feel secure, to make everyone feel safe when it's okay to let go of your, if you're too focused, to let go of some of the stiffness in your shoulder or in your arms, and so that your ears can have room to listen to the sound or listen to how you play. Singing is a very supportive way of expressing the melody lines, and also to make your body feel relaxed. And so especially if you're playing a piece of relaxed expressive music, a very melodic one, try to spend some time singing the tune. It will help you a lot because ringer might not be aware that they are part of that melody line, that they need to cooperate together to build a shape. Sometimes they only know, okay, I'm the melody line, so I play louder. Okay, but if you want to build a beautiful contour of that musical phrase, then each person has to give out maybe a gradual change of the energy of the musical line to make it beautiful. So singing will enable or help the group to realize and how the line goes up and down, and how do they convey their emotion from the paper to the real sound. So this is one of the tips that conductor can do. I realized one quite interesting phenomenon in bell choir, that the ringers say, I don't sing. I don't sing, and I don't like to sing. That's why I'm in a bell choir. So at the very beginning, maybe half of your group can sing very quietly, and half of the group doesn't bother to open their mouth. But please keep trying and keep encouraging your people to open up, because once they sing, the energy will flow more smoothly. Because when you sing, you need to breathe. The breathing comes from your core and then it goes up. So when you practice singing, you're also practicing the energy flow from inside all the way to the outside. Okay, and when you sing, and you're also executing the very important point is breathing. Okay, breathe and movement support each other. So when we breathe and then we move, okay, they're like twins. One goes in, one goes out. Okay, inhale and exhale. They support each other. No matter when we ring, when we talk, when we walk, when we pick up something, when we want to punch someone, when we want to pet your dog, or if you just want to be yourself. Okay, breathing is very important and a very powerful expression. It's not the only privilege for singer, but it's also important for all kinds of musical players. And in bell ringing, of course, we know that in preparation for the strike, you need to breathe, because the way you breathe affects the way you sound. Okay, so let's do a little exercise to test that and how your breath and movement support each other. Okay, I guess you don't have bells, but that's okay. Just hold out an air bell. Okay, what we are going to do, we are going to do 4 breathing exercise. Okay, so breathing exercise, and see which feels natural, which feels awkward. So we have 4 options. First one, long inhale, long exhale. Long inhale, long exhale. The second one, short and short. And the third one, long and short. And the fourth one, short and long. Okay, so let's take a minute to do it together. Okay, the first one is a long inhale and a long exhale. Okay, try that again. Just forget about the bells. Just a long inhale and long exhale. So that's feel okay, and that's feel good. Okay, and the second one, the short inhale and the short exhale. So okay, short inhale, short exhale. Okay, when you do the short work, you should feel that there is a force urging you to purge out the air, because you are using more energy to breathe in. Okay, first is the long one. Okay, you have a lot of time to breathe in and out. That makes you feel very relaxed. Okay, the third one, Take a long inhale and a short exhale. Okay, so it's a long inhale, a short exhale. All right, so long inhale. Okay, that doesn't sound really comfortable because you feel that you still have much air to breathe out, but all of a sudden it's just choke and chop. Okay, and the fourth one, take a short inhale and do a long exhale. So a short one, long, short. Okay, this doesn't feel right either because you suck in the air in a very short time. So, and when you have to produce a very long breath, it feels like you're running out of air. You don't have enough air to breathe out in that time. So it's quite obvious that if we balance our breath intake and output, so that will make our body feel at ease. Remember, we should feel at ease at all time. So if we have a bell, and when we do a long inhale, and then we do a long exhale to our bells, through our bells. Okay, this is the kind of sound that you can produce. Or maybe a very strong sound, a very strong stroke with a strong breath, and go. Try that again. Okay, if you're doing short breath, okay, so dynamics is not a matter, but the speed that you breathe in and out, it will make some change, or it has effect on your motion directly. So if you are doing the opposite one, like if you have a long inhale and then you produce a short sound, this is how it would like. Long inhale, and I feel a little bit suffocated because I want more air to go out, but all of a sudden I'm stopped. So that doesn't feel very comfortable, and it's kind of weird. And and if you are doing a short inhale and play a long note and play a long exhale on your bells. See? I can't have a smooth movement because the short breath is like this and the long exhale doesn't balance each other. So I hope this simple exercise gives you an experience on how breathing and the movement will support each other. A lot of the time when we start playing a piece, the breathing starts when the conductor brings up the bells. If you're playing a gentle piece, you bring the bells up gently. Okay, gracioso. If you're playing Capriccio and McCaffrey McChesney, so da 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 da. So this is a short breath and da 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 da. Okay, we need that power, the explosion to execute the strong sound of the music. So if you breathe the other way round, one problem will comes up is that you have a lot of emotion, but it cannot transfer to the bells effectively because you have not pay much attention to the breathing, so the breathing doesn't support your sound production. But actually, breathing is a very good partner in helping you to produce a sound from your bells. Okay, so it's good to do experiment with your group during your rehearsal, and so that you can let everybody feel the difference, and so that they will remember, and then they will realize, oh yes, this is easy. If I okay, I would suggest do this exercise before you play the music and make it into a habit, because when we look at the music score, our attention will goes all into the paper, and then somehow we will forget. We forget. Oh, you need to breathe. Oh, okay. And until the conductor cannot stand anymore and say, okay, please, guys, take a long breath and play the first chord. Okay. And if we can build this into our regular practice, and it becomes a daily movement, or it becomes a very natural movement or natural way to ring a bell. So whenever the ringer knows that, oh, I want to express anger, so I must have anger in myself. Okay, so this is anger. Oh, now this is a very beautiful song. It's Amazing Grace. Okay, so I love this song because it's talking about God's love. It's so beautiful. So it's beautiful. And so I will produce beautiful sound naturally. It doesn't have to be very complicated issue. Okay, so so we always talk about the music, how you feel. So it's the next point I'm going to talk about is to let your body move the way it feels. Okay, so let your body move the way it feels means when it's to let your body fully express how it feels about the music. Okay, in a modern society, we have too much stress. We have too much constriction that we are not allowed to express our feeling. Or maybe in your office, you're not allowed to express your thoughts sometimes. And of course, in Hong Kong now, we are not allowed to express our view on a lot of things. So we have a lot of stress inside, and being able to open up and truly immerse in the music becomes quite challenging in today's world. But if we are going to ring a piece of music, we want to express that piece of music thoroughly. It is very important that we open up our heart and to let our body have the freedom to move and to feel. It doesn't matter how do you feel. Don't need to be exactly like. You don't need to have the exact feeling as the next person, but allowing your body to express its feeling is very important. And I would say it's the gateway to expressive ringing. If you don't open up that gate, everything will be just on the outside. Very theological, very left-brained. Okay, so everything is calculated, but it's nothing that comes from your own expression, your own feeling. So I want to do a short music excerpt with you. And if you're at home or in a place where you can move a little bit, just let your body move. Okay, as if you're ringing a bell, that's fine. If you can ring a bell, ring air bell, or you can just let go. It's an expressive piece of music. You all know it's Arnold Sherman's Gracioso. So we will listen to 1.5 minutes, and so that you can just enjoy yourself and allow your body to move around. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to share. So, okay. Let me share the music. Yes. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Okay, when you hear the music, you can start moving your arms in a way that you feel good. Okay, feel the phrases and feel what is like, what kind of message you want to express. Let your body do the work. Okay. So I hope you have moved a little bit during the past 2 minutes to let your body feel the music. Sometimes in a rehearsal, when we get stuck as a conductor, and you think that, oh, I'm not satisfied with the sound, and I'm not satisfied with the way that they play, but I just have no clue. What should I do? Okay, let's say they're playing gracioso and they're just not musical. You say it in your heart. Okay, so what do I do? Okay, first of all, I've mentioned saying the line, and then analyze, do a rough, a very brief analysis of the music, and work out the sections so that they identify the sections, and then it's good to play the tune in front of the group and let everybody has an exercise like that in the room. Okay, so no ringing, let go of the technical stuff, and no matter you're playing the bass or the treble, just let everyone immerse in the music. Just let them sink in and feel the music. Just move. They could lie down on the floor and just listen. They could move like what I'm doing it now. You can ring air bell. Okay, and without the stress on reading the notes, our mind will be more free to be engaged with the musicality, with the sound, with the shape of the piece. Okay, so I just did this piece with my intermediate group. So this year, right after the pandemic, I decided to teach a more fundamental group, because I think that we need to rebuild the foundation of the youth ensemble. So instead of conducting the senior group, I choose the intermediate group to work with. So they are they have 1 year ringing experience. Most of them, or maybe 2 or 2.5 years, but anyway, they have stopped ringing for the whole year. And so when we work through this piece, we have sung, we have write stories about the piece, about different sessions, and we have made a progression of how the music goes from session one, the very thin texture, to a thicker texture, then go through the second theme, and then it developed to a full chord texture. And what happened in the middle part, when the bass have the melody, and then finally we get to the grand finale. So we walk through the whole song, and I'll let them, and I'll ask them to come up with some kind of picture, some kind of feeling. What do they feel? What do they see in here when they hear the music and when they ring? So gradually, piece by piece, we put them all together, and so it becomes the group's interpretation, and so it becomes their piece because they feel it that way, and the conductor facilitates the process, and I do polish up a few places so that to make the piece connect smoothly. But that's all I do. And so after, I think, 6 rehearsal, we did it at the third rehearsal because they have no clue about what's going on in the piece. No matter I say, okay, this should be very musical, and so we did it at the 4th rehearsal. I asked them to do that. So at the 6th rehearsal, we played it through. It's not perfect. It still have a lot of notes to fix, but the shape is already built. And when they finish playing this, they like the piece. They love the piece, and they say, "Oh, wow!" And they say, "Wow!" And I say, "Yes." And when you are willing to put in your emotions, and when you realize what's going on in the music, and this is what you will get. Okay, so the music doesn't need to be perfect before you work on the musicality. You can work from the very beginning. You can work anytime as you feel like. That's the way to let your group continuously build up that awareness, and in cooperation with the breathing, the movement, and all the things we have talked about at the beginning. So, and help them to ring at ease. Spot any technical challenge on any particular ringer. Help him to unlock what he has. So you will feel it's very amazing. And at the beginning, when your note is only like that, at the beginning, everybody plays like that, okay, because they're focusing on the notes, and they don't feel anything. But after they have that feeling, in the beginning, it's flowing. And at the end, the very grand finale on the last page, and the body will open up. Okay, so your body has opened up, and it's willing to express. Okay, it's willing to go bigger. It grows out. The sound is more projected to the front. So that will make a lot of difference. Okay, so I will encourage conductors to try that. And if you are a ringer watching this event, and I also encourage you to start to build the awareness inside yourself, so that when the next time when you pick up a bell, you think about, what kind of sound am I going to produce? What am I going to express? In other words, okay. So, and the next thing I want to share with you is about a very new language. Maybe you know about that. In terms of communication between the conductor and the ringer, I know we both sides try hard to satisfy the other parties. So the ringer works very hard to fulfill the conductor's desire, and the conductor, and also she works very hard to convey her intention to the ringer. But sometimes, as human beings, we all feel differently, we all think differently, we interpret the same thing differently, and because we are all individuals. So when you say, okay, this piece, please play with much love, okay, so you're talking about love, and then the ringer will say, okay, love. Okay, yes, I love my puppy. Okay, and oh yes, I love my mom. And someone may say, I don't love anybody. Okay, I don't feel love. So then as a conductor, you feel the challenge, and you feel the room doesn't feels right. Okay, so it's kind of it's difficult to just use words to describe how or what kind of sound you want from the other side of the table. So at the beginning, I talked about I have worked with somatic and bodyworks, and I come across the Laban movement analysis. And Laban is a dance teacher, and he had developed a language to describe, to visualizing, to interpret, and documenting all varieties of human movement. It uses a multidisciplinary approach, incorporating contribution from anatomy, kinesiology, physiology, and other fields. So it's one of the most widely used system of human movement analysis. So in his theory, every movement can be recorded and written down, and then the next person can repeat, or they can perform the same movement out of the text. So that's one of the characteristics of Laban movement analysis. Because when we say, even if you have put down on paper, okay, raise your hand. Okay, raise your hand is the movement, but I can raise my hand like this. I can raise my hand like this. I can raise my hand like this. Or I can raise my hand like this. Okay? Every single movement that I have just done carries a different emotion and intention. Okay, so when we put in the choreography book, say, raise up the hand, it doesn't mean that the next choreographer or the dancer can fully translate what the original person mean, because the original choreographer may mean raise up your hand with grace, okay, grace, or raise up your hand with force. Okay, both they are different, but very different. So the Laban enables us to documenting and write down the movement by his own language called the Laban efforts. Okay, so I won't have time to go through every single, the whole concept. I encourage you to read this book by Kimberly Sprecher, and then or maybe in another workshop that we can go further deep into Laban's movement. But what I can show you now is the three very essential, fundamental elements that made up the Laban efforts. Okay, the first one is time, second, space, and the third one is weight. So every movement that we produce can be analyzed under these three categories: time, space, and weight. Okay, so by time, let's go back. By time, it has two sides. One is sustained, one is quick. Space, direct and indirect. And weight means the force you use in the movement. It has light weight and strong weight. So they are all opposite components. In time, time means a measurable length of time it takes to complete the action. It's not about the tempo, or it's about the time that you complete the motion. In other words, the time you complete to strike the bell, that's called time. That's the time concept in relation to bells. Okay, this I would call sustained time. This I would call quick time. Okay, quick time, you see the wrist has a more active movement in striking the bell, and in sustained time, it's much longer. Okay, so time, in other words, means the time that you need to complete the movement. For example, so you're late, and you wake up and you grab the coffee on your table, and then it's a quick motion. Okay, so if you want to grab something quickly, okay, this is quick time. And for sustained time, it's a reverse. It says, oh, okay, well, I have time. Okay, take my time and pick this up. Okay, that's the difference between quick and sustained. And secondly, in space, space would mean the mover's pathway through the space, and where in space the movement occurs. So space means the space around us. As a ringer, the space that we have in our own territory on the table, that's our space. So direct space means that the movement that has a single focal point. For example, when I poke something, okay, this is a single focal point. Okay, so if I have some dust on my hand and I want to brush it off, okay, this action doesn't have a single focal point. Instead, it has multiple focal points. Okay, so it's multi-directional. I don't have to only on one point, because you know the dust are everywhere. Okay, so this is direct and indirect. If we ring, if you're ringing very intentionally towards one point or one direction, this is called direct space. If you are ringing, okay, if you're ringing like this, you are making use of the space in front of you. Okay, so this is multi-directional. In other words, indirect space. If I'm ringing direct space, okay, I'm bringing more forward instead of using up the space in between. Okay, the third one is called weight. Weight is the force that we use in the movement. So we can have light weight, we can have strong weight. Okay, sometimes it seems like you is in relation to dynamics. Yes, but it's not only limited to that. Okay, so if you are using strong force, sometimes you're not just playing your FF passages, but when you want to ring with a stronger emotion, the strong weight will also help you to do so. So it's not directly related. It has some kind of relationship, but it's not equal. So just have that in mind. Okay. So after talking about the three fundamental concepts of the movement, time, space, and weight, then Laban has 8 efforts that we can use as reference in order to learn that movement. Okay, so we quickly go through that. Depth. The word depth means direct space, lightweight, and quick time. So 3 elements. Direct space, so like poking someone. Okay, it's a direct space motion. Lightweight, you poke someone lightly. Okay, you don't just punch through. Okay, so it's a lightweight and it's a quick time because when you poke, the action is short. Okay, so this is step. The next one, float. Float is like flowing in the floating in the water. It's like smoke in the air. They just curling out into the space. So float is in direct space. Lightweight because it's gentle, and sustained time. So float, in the effort to flow, you can have a lot of time to complete that motion. Okay, it doesn't have to be hurry. Okay, space is indirect because smoke, you cannot direct the smoke to just go in one single direction. They are all over the place. So indirect space. The third one is glide. Glide in relation to skiing, roller skating, paragliding. So it's very directional. So it has direct space. It's light because you need the speed to glide off, and then sustained time. Again, it takes longer time to complete the glide motion. Okay, and then the next one, ring. Okay, ring is like you ring a tower full of water. And ring is an indirect space motion. You need some force to do it. So you need a strong weight. And again, it is sustained time because in order to complete the ring motion, it takes a while to complete the motion. Okay, the next one is press. Pressing through a revolving door, or pushing a car, push through something very heavy, or push through a bell case. So press is direct space. Okay, you have a strong focus. You need the force, so it's strong and it's sustained. Okay. And the next one is slash. Slash is like fencing. Okay, or you spike a volleyball. Okay, so it's multi-directional, so it's in direct space. It is strong in weight, and it's quick time. So the slash motion is quick. Okay. And the next one, punch. Punch is direct space. Okay, you punch through the wall, punch through a sandbag or so. You use a hammer to punch the nail into the wood. So the action of punch is direct space. It is strong weight and quick time. So the punching action is complete in quick time. The last one is flick. Flick is like brushing off the cookie crumbs from your clothes. Okay, or chasing out the mosquito. Okay, so brushing off is a flick motion. When we ring, we also say we need a flick motion. Okay, when you conduct, we also need a flick motion. Okay, so the flick motion is indirect in space. It's light. Okay, and it's in quick time. Okay, so I use this language to communicate with my ringer for almost, I guess, 6-7 years already, and I found this very effective. And after our Portland concert, and we go back home and we do a new repertoire, and we play Kevin McChesney's Italian Symphony. So at that time, not all the ringers have an orchestral experience, so we strive for quite a while to play through with music. Okay, to play through the piece musically, because it's quite difficult for the kids to understand what kind of sound do I want. And so I try to make, and that's the time when I try to teach them the concept of these 8 efforts. We teach two efforts a week. We do exercise. We learn the concept. We do the movement, and then we practice that with our bell. For example, the dab. Dab is direct space, light, and quick. So this is the dab. Okay, it's has a very single focal point. Okay, and versus flick. Okay, versus flick. Flick is also lightweight and quick time, but the direction is different. The space is different. The space is indirect. So flick. This would be the flick. So the sound of a flick versus a dab is different. A dab, in dab, the sound is more focused. The flick is more lively. And also, if you look at my body also looks more lively when I do the flick. When I do the dab, I'm more focused. Okay, so we practice this we learn 2 efforts a time, and we practice that, and we remember what it's like. And sometimes I will just put the 3 elements on the board, and they have to tell me what effort am I using. And as time goes by, we have developed a very good relationship in our interpretation process. Sometimes when we play a session, we will discuss, so what do you think? What kind of effort do you think we should use in this music? Is it a dab or a flick? What is the difference? Let's play it and let's experiment on this. So sometimes the conductor will have an intention, okay, I think this should be flick. But when the player they practice, when they practice it, and sometimes they will tell you, oh, it's weird because my bell or I have a bell change, something like that. So some technical issue will arise, and then they would tell me. So we're kind of we work together, and then we come up something that everybody feels good. or feels comfortable. Back to the very beginning concept, we feel at ease. So when we feel at ease, we can enjoy the music. So the efforts is a language to start off the interpretation process. And after you have worked through the music and you get your sound, you can just let it go, and you don't have to be very strict. Oh, this is a that. No, you are doing a flick. No, you don't have to have that struggle. As long as the music is musically interpreted, and you are fulfilled and they are fulfilled, and it makes sense. Okay, so so that's the way how we work, and also we will. Sometimes we don't mention about the effort name, but we will just discuss, is it quick time or is it sustained time? Or is it sustained time direct space, or in it sustained time indirect space? Sometimes we will just do experiment like this. And we may do in small group. Let's say only the melody part will do one kind of effort, while the bass is doing another kind of effort. So they may split, and there are multiple efforts in a piece. So that's the music layers, the layers in the texture can be expressed in more detail. So maybe the melody is gliding, and the bass may be very strong, so they are using punch, or they're using press. The middle bells with the very repeated figure also, or they may using the depth, etc. So in a session of music, you're not applying one single effort to them. Okay, there are multiple efforts. You need to analyze the music, and you need to pull out the layers and see which layer should use what kind of effort. And so and for my more junior group, let's say the group that I've taken this year, I have not taught them the effort in details yet, but I start to teach them quick time and sustained time. So just knowing the difference, and direct space and indirect space. So experiment with the space and the weight, a strong weight and a light weight. So in times, I will introduce the efforts to them by name. But what I want to share with you, that most important of all is to let your body feels freely, and let the emotion get into yourself, and then express it out. So it's a digestion process to me. So you have something absorbed, and then you express them out. So if the ringer can build this into a habit, and so they will accumulate a lot of different feelings in their library. Okay, so when they play a different piece, they know what kind of ingredients they need to pick out and fulfill the conductor's intention. And that's how we start to ring musically as a musician. So to conclude, I think after I learned this body movements thing, I would say everybody can be a good musician if the conductor can communicate effectively, and we allowed the ringers, as a ringer, we allow ourselves to experiment and practice with different ways of sound production together with our own feelings. So that will make a very musical performance. So I will encourage you to try and take whatever you feel useful back to your group and try that out. Okay, so my presentation is finished, and I will pass my time back to Derek and Bob.
Hello. Here we are back again. There are many faces of us. We're now going to have the Q&A panel, and the people who are here are me, Barb Sylvie, and Shelley Geyer, and Diane Barnes. And I will let them take it away.
Hi,
Okay.
this is Diane speaking. I just want to say, Emily, thanks for the great presentation.
Thank you.
I've studied Kimberly's book and have tried to incorporate it, but I find myself so often forgetting to really push that stuff to my bell choirs or keep it incorporated in what I'm doing, ringing, and try to. I found that if I can follow her efforts and they help me imagine what I need to do to the bell in order to make the sound that I think should be made to fit the music. So if I can keep that in mind, I feel really good about that. And it's something I think everyone should try to learn more about Kimberly's book and the Laban movement, because it will really give musicality to their music. There was only one question in chat, and it came from Derek. He asked, how does a ringer's face relate to their motion? I think that was what he said.
How does a ringer's face in relation to the motion?
Relate to their motion.
Okay,
Right, I guess how their
say,
face looks relate to how they're moving their bells. I don't know. Derek, did you want to elaborate a little bit?
well, facial expression is a direct reflection of an emotion, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, it's difficult for a person to show one face but feel the other way. Okay. So, for me, I don't work much. I don't insist my ringer to smile or look when they ring, because I think that is fake. Okay, I don't need that expression unless the expression comes from their heart or come from their inner self. So if you're playing gracioso, okay, you can smile, but there are also places where you can frown. Okay, in a minor session. So in a very grand session, you can feel glorious, but it doesn't have to be a smile. Okay, so I would say, as the audience, we don't insist the performer to carry a smile on the face all the time. If your music can touch their heart, okay, if your music is touching enough, they don't bother what your face look like. Okay, and as the conductor, I would say, yes, sometimes the tension will show here. You know that he's very tense, so you help him. You help him to relax. Oh, so can I help? What's the problem? Is that a bell change, or is a technical issue that I can help? So going back to the very first point, you make every ringer ring at ease. So the ease is a process. Okay. So and I would say in introducing the efforts to the group, it doesn't have to be a big project. Okay, now I'm starting this today. Okay, it doesn't have to be like that. It just need to be, okay, this phrase, let's try. Okay, this session, okay, I'm going to try. Quick time and sustained time. Okay, let's do this experiment. It's just very, very casual in your presentation, but of course you know what you're doing, but it is just very naturally. You just let it happen organically. That will make everybody unconsciously get into your trap. Yeah, because you're actually molding them into another way. But sometimes when the conductor say, "Okay, let's work on the emotion," and somehow some people feel very, no, they feel very reluctant. I don't want to show my emotion. Is that not your business? This is my emotion. So sometimes people will feel sensitive to these kind of words or requests. But if you're working it naturally, okay, let's try the quick time and the sustained time. That's a technical request.
Right.
So, but in a way that magically they will transform. Who knows? Okay, and of course, every single individual has different time to digest your instructions, and it takes different time to achieve that process, and that's okay. Okay, just knowing that we can influence each other, and it will come. It doesn't happen overnight, but it will take maybe 1 year or 2 years for the group to transform a little bit. But that little bit is very, very important and very precious as you move to the next step. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I'm working with church choirs that they always thought they were smiling or thought they were looking like they were having a great time. And so I would videotape them and we would watch it and they would go, I look terrible. Because you're worried.
Yes, exactly.
To find out
Yes.
worried place. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. Sometimes we don't know when we are worried. No, you're frowning. No, I'm not. Okay, unless they see the video, but that's true. That's reality. That's human beings. Yeah. But I would think coming from your heart, the emotion that drawn from the heart is true. Is the most affectionate emotion that you can convey to the audience on the other side of the hall. Yeah.
Looked like Shelley had a question or something to say.
Yeah, I just have a really quick question. Emily, you said that back in 2011 that you went to a dance class. And I was wondering, did you go to the dance class because at that point you realized that bell ringing and dancing were related? Or did you get into the dance class and realize, whoa, I can use this for my ringers?
Yeah, it happened coincidentally because I work closely with a modern dancer, a professional dancer that we work in other projects before, not bells. And then she told me about this class, the somatic class. And I said, okay, I'm interested. Because yes, bell is about movement. So I'm interested to learn about movement. I'm a terrible dancer. I never dance. But I feel, okay, body movement, that may help me to understand ringing from a different perspective. So that's how I get involved and step into that class. I was freaking when in the first lesson because the other students were dancer. But then, okay, I feel good because we're not doing nothing with dance. But that's a really, really good experience.
Good. That's interesting. How long have you been ringing bells before you went to dance class?
Sorry?
How long have you been ringing bells before you went to dance class?
I rang bell in 1986. That's my first chime choir. And I teach in 1996. I started directing in 1996. So that's about 5-6 years. No. 15 years, longer. 15, 16 years. Yes, it's much longer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so welcome. Thank you.
So it looks like we're about out of time, but if you guys still have a question for Emily, just put it in chat. We'll try to pick it up later or something, but we need to move on to Damien's presentation. So back to Barb.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Thanks, Emily.
Bye.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay. Bye.
Welcome back. We have another awesome conductor and player and director and lots of stuff for you now. His name is Damien Lim, and he trained in concert percussion. He's the founder and music director of the award-winning Ministry of Bells from Singapore. Percussion and handbells have led him to perform, teach, and adjudicate in over 23 countries, including Canada, Egypt, Turkey, Ireland, and France. Damien emphasizes the importance of quality teaching, learning, performance, and enjoyment in music making in today's 21st century handbell ringing. He is a fellow, FRSA, with the Royal Society of the Arts in the United Kingdom, a fellow FLCM of the London College of Music in the United Kingdom, and executive director of the Handbell Ringers of Singapore. He also directs the handbell teams at 6 mainstream schools. I do not understand how he has energy for all this, but I've seen him and he does. And is a program consultant to 8 other school ensembles. Damien spent 6 years with the Singapore's Central Band as its principal timpanist, percussionist, and was a session musician with the Singapore Symphony Orchestra, Singapore Chinese Orchestra, Singapore Wind Symphony, Singapore Pops Orchestra, Bradell Heights Symphony Orchestra, the Heartbeat Percussion Band, Singapore Youth Orchestra, and the World Youth Wind Orchestra in Austria from 1994 to 2010. He was also performing actively in the musical theater circle in Singapore as a multi-instrumentalist percussionist. A firm believer of self-directed learning and music as the universal language that connects the world, he contributes actively to the learning and enjoyment of music making of students and in the development of handbell standards in Singapore. He constantly seeks to be purposeful in turning the page in pursuit of excellence. During the COVID pandemic, Damien developed a keen interest in teaching music online. I give you Damien Lim.
Thank you so much, Bob. Good morning to all of you. It's good morning here from Singapore. It's good evening to all of you in the United States. And welcome to today's session of Pling Plang Plunk. To start off this session, I'd like to present a video first before talking more about it. So please do enjoy this performance of Pling Plang Plunk, which I've recorded a couple of days back. So check this out. Enjoy. And so with that opening performance, Pling Plang Plang, the title of my workshop to be presented to all of you. Pling Plang Plang was first conceived 10 years ago in 2011, and it was conducted first at Calgary in Canada during the Ringing National Handbell Festival. And through the years, Pling Plang Plang has traveled around the world, and it's been such a privilege to present this workshop, malleting on handbells like a percussionist, to many, many handbell ringers throughout the world. And I'm really glad that this evening you are able to be here with us to attend this session. And I'm just going to, before we start, I'm just wondering whether you would have the PDF handout with you, because then it would be pretty easy for you to follow step by step throughout this whole session this evening. Well, we're going to start off by saying, why did I decide to design this session 10 years ago? Well, I've been ringing handbell since 2004 and directing since 2006. And when I travel around the world during the International Handbell Symposiums, I was observing. And, it's a very typical thing for a percussionist to look out for all those percussion-related actions, so to speak. And as I observe handbell ringers malleting or holding the mallets, and I thought, okay, there could be something here that I could share, knowledge here that I could share to help handbell ringers manage their mallets. Even though the mallets, it's a we call it a secondary part of handbell ringing, right? But it's still a very important instrument, or part of an instrument that helps us to create better sounds if we knew how to use the mallets to its potential. So, and that was why I decided to design that workshop in 2011. Well, there we go. And so if you have this handout now, I'm going to break up this session into 3 parts. Pling, plang, plang. So that's pling, part 1, part 2, which is plang, and then plang, part 3. Now in pling, we're going to be looking into the word percussion and handbells. How is percussion related to handbells? Now if we were to check, if we were to have to look at dictionaries, the definition of percussion would be anything that creates a sound when it's being struck. And yes, when we ring a handbell, it's the clapper striking against the bell casting, and that is percussive. And when we use mallets to hit the bell, it is percussive. So for me, I would put handbells under the family of a percussion instrument. All right, so handbells being a member of the percussion family. Then that's point number 1 on your PDF. Now, and because today's topic is about malleting, now I would have 4 W's that I wanted to share with you on how to select a mallet to use or to buy, for that matter. First of which, the 4 W's are what mallet to use, the wrenching of the mallet, what sound or tone is suitable for what kind of music, and where to use. Where to use meaning where to strike the bell on, or where to hold your bell, etc. Hold your mallet. Okay, so we're going to start off with the first W, which is which mallet to use. Now, if you walked into a handbell shop, or of course, if you were to buy handbell accessories online, so the first thing that we want to look at is to consider is, would you like to have a flexible or stiff shaft? Okay, so in fact, before that, what's a shaft? Let me just check this out for you. Okay, if you could actually see my mallet here. Yeah, so I'm just going to give you the names of the parts. The mallets can be broken into parts as well, just like our handbells. Okay, so there are 4 parts that we want to talk about before I use words like shaft or handles and mallet head. Okay, so the first part that we want to, let me use a bigger mallet. Okay, this will be better. So the first part that we're looking at, where I'm pointing to, this would be the head, H-E-A-D, or the bead, B-E-A-D. Okay, we don't call this a mallet because the whole thing itself is a mallet. Right? It's like a space shuttle. The whole thing is a space shuttle. The white color plane alone is called an orbiter. So, yeah, so there we go. This is the head, okay? And then this area here that I'm kind of holding onto, this would be the shaft. The shaft. This part here, let me use a gray mallet, you might be able to see better. The gray part, that would be your handle. Of course, that's where you grab it. And then the last part at the end here, don't discount this. This is a very important part. It's called the butt. B-U-T-T. That's right. You got it right. In fact, on drumsticks, this is also called the butt as well. It is a official term for drumsticks and mallets. So once again, if you've got the PDF, if you would like to write it down, that's great. The head or the beat, the shaft, the handle, and the butt. So the 4 parts of a mallet. Now, the first thing that you would like to do when you walk into a handbell shop or online is to consider whether you would like to have a flexible or stiff shaft. Now, let's talk about the difference. Because they do make a difference in your playing. Now I've got 2 mallets here. I do not have, however, the Molmark and the Schumeric former mallets, which were bendable. I wouldn't call it bendable. Flexible would be the word then. So I've got myself a vibraphone mallet here just to show you what flexible means. Check this out. This is flexible mallets. Okay. All right. So when you play, it kind of feels like wiggling. Yeah. Okay. So I've got a few more flexible mallets. So what's cool about flexible mallets compared to stiff shaft? Now, let me find a white color. Okay, there we go. A white color wall. Okay, so you could actually see this. This is a stiff shaft. And this is the true timber mallets. I've got here a Schumeric mallet that is stiff as well. Okay. So what's the difference between a stiff mallet and a flexible mallet? Cool. It depends. I started training, I started learning percussion as a drummer. So as we all know, drumsticks are stiff. I've yet to see a drumstick that is wiggly. Can't imagine that anyway. So because I was trained that way, I felt very comfortable with stiff mallets. What's cool about it for me is that it gives me a very definite strike, a very definite attack, a very definite articulation. However, I'm not discounting the flexible mallet too, because flexible mallets are great for energy control, for stamina control, especially whilst you need to play for long periods of time on malleting on handbells. Okay, mallets actually require less strength somehow, I feel. It's a personal opinion, by the way. Using less strength to hit on the instrument whilst producing a much fuller tone. So using a stiff mallet, you would definitely need to use as much more energy compared to a flexible mallet. Okay, so in short, which is comfortable? I would say I'll let you choose. Okay, it's personal preference. So that's the difference between stiff and flexible mallets. And in case, and once again I forgot to mention this, it's so important that there's a disclaimer at the bottom of your PDF document, and it says this is for classroom purposes only during the COVID-19 period. So this presentation is based on personal experience and opinion of the presenter himself, tried and tested effectively and safely. However, it does not necessarily conform to or reflect the recommendations of the instrument manufacturer. So please use with discretion. There we go. That's found in the PDF. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Recommended range of use for safety sake of your bells. So, as we all know, on our mallets, it's printed, like for example, this brown color, yarn head, true timber mallet. The range printed on the handle is G4 through G5. Okay? So it's important for us to follow as much as possible the range that is recommended. However, having said that, can we use this mallet below G4, or can we use this mallet above G5 range? To be honest, as a percussionist, as a director, I would say yes, but do not go more than 2 bells past it. So for example, this says G4 through G5. I would probably agree with my ringers to play it down to a E4 or maybe up to a B5. Okay, but preferably nothing more than that. Now earlier on in the video, you saw me playing the Pling Plang Plung by Leroy Anderson. Yeah, and I was using the brown rubber true timber mallets, and it went beyond the range up and down the octaves of the handbells. Again, use with caution, okay? So that's the advice. So that's with regards to the recommended range for safety of your bells. I've done the parts of the mallet, so we're going to skip that one. Moving on, wrenching of the mallets. This is very interesting because I've seen through my travels around the world, and I've seen ringers holding mallets pretty well, which is good. In the middle of the mallet, of the handle and the shaft, and right up to the beat, you know, especially when they need to play soft, and they'll do this. Okay, we've got a problem here. When you do this, you have no control over your mallet. The mallet is made long for control. The word is control, okay? And this has got no control at absolutely none at all. As a matter of fact, we all know that when you try to hit the bell this way, and oh, by the way, I have a second camera. Yeah, so if I were to hit it this way, because we want to play pianissimo or pianissimo, it kind of sticks the mallet, it kind of sticks the head into the bell, and it damps and muffles your bell casting. So you're not going to produce a very beautiful tone if you're going to be just sticking it like that, okay? So we're going to look at how to wrench or how to hold the mallet for starters. So if you have a mallet with you, that's great. If you don't, pick up a pen now, pick up a pencil, pick up a chopstick, pick up a drumstick, all right, and join me as we do this a little exercise. So for the gripping, okay, now one thing that we got to go, you know, the reason why the manufacturers create a handle, it's precisely for our hand to hold on. The shaft is not where we would want to put our handle at, definitely. So the handle is for the hands. So to grab the handle, we're going to imagine shaking hands, but with your handle. So stick your mallet handle between your thumb and your second finger, right? I'll try to go close to the second camera so you might be able to see. Yeah, okay. And then what you do next is just close your four fingers, and then the thumb, using the tip of the thumb to just grab hold of the tip of the mallet, tip of the handle. Okay, you should be able to see this quite clearly on the second screen. Okay, and that would be where you would like to hold the mallet. Okay, again, not in the middle of the shaft, and definitely not where the beat is. Okay, now this is important because then I'm going to introduce to you two grips, because these grips are adapted from timpani playing, okay, to a certain extent drumming as well, snare drumming. Now the first grip, it's called the French grip, okay, and I'm going to use the second camera. The French grip is when our thumb is at the top. That means our palms are facing sideways, okay? All right? So you should be able to see my second screen where my thumb is at the top. Imagine a remote control. Oh gosh, I've got a remote control here, so much easier there. That's a French grip. A French grip on a remote control. Okay, so there we go. Okay, that's your French grip. Now, the next grip that I would like to show you is what we call the German grip. Notice that I've just turned my palm sideways. All right, now my palm is facing downwards and my thumb's facing sideways. Okay, I repeat, the palm is facing down whilst the thumb is facing the side. Okay, in drumming, sometimes we call this the match grip. Matched, M-A-T-C-H-E-D. So the right hand matches the left hand. Okay? Now the match grip is also known as the German grip. So which grip you like to use, I would say again, it's personal preference. Give it a try. Personally, I like to use the French grip. When I roll, when I need to do rolls, I like to use the French grip. When I need to play like pling plang plang, melting all over the range, I prefer to use the German grip. Okay, there is no one grip that fits all. It's really about personal preference. It's all up to you. Give it a try. Okay. Next, where to strike the bell. Okay. So if you have the handout, okay. Once again, if you don't have the handout, it's on a PDF that hopefully will be accessible to you. Now, where to strike the bell? As you can see on the picture of the Whitechapel handbell, I did put an arrow there, but I'm going to be using my second screen once again. Okay, if you could see my mallet, I'm just going to point to you 3 spots. Okay, the first spot is of course on the lid. The second spot is the crown, which is the thickest piece of metal. Okay, and then the third spot will be somewhere around where the curve is. Now I would recommend for you to strike somewhere between the lid and where the curve point is. Okay, all right, this spot here. Okay, we try not to hit too much to the lid at all, because chances are you're going to be missing the lid. The worst thing that can happen is you miss the lid and then the shaft of the mallet hits the lid, and oops, you get a different sound. Okay, we don't strike at the crown because it's too much metal, and that's the cue word for you. Too much metal, you get only metal coming out. All right, so if you want to get a full bell tone, strike towards this area here where my mallet is positioned on the second screen. Okay, to get a full sound. So that's your strike point. Okay, and the next W, which is what tone is suitable. Now, I'm going to break that down for you. Strokes determine what tone you are going to produce. The strokes to use. Now, there are 3 kinds of strokes that we would like to explore today. The first stroke, it's called arm stroke. Now, I'm going to turn my body sideways. And if you could imagine, I have a timpani here in front of me. Okay, an arm stroke. That's an arm stroke. My arms are actually moving pretty big. Yeah. All right. And it's very, very suitable for the bass 3s and the bass 2 range bells because of its position and the diameter of the bell. You will need to shift all over, your body. All right. So that will be an arm stroke. Now, the arm stroke gives you a very firm, a very deep tone. Okay, if you wanted something boom, all right, it's pretty much like how Emily described in her workshop earlier on, the Laban technique. It's very pressed, it's very wrenched. Yeah, so boom, go for it. That's an arm stroke. You know what's the cool thing about an arm stroke too? It allows your musicians to be visually involved as well. So there you go, an arm stroke. Okay, the next one would be a wrist stroke. Now, I'm going to try to go to the second camera, the wrist stroke. Okay, if you realize when I use the wrist stroke, my arm is not really moving, maybe 5%, but 90% of the movement is on the wrist. Okay, so coming back to the main camera, a wrist stroke gives you a very clear, focused, articulated tone. That's what a wrist stroke would be good for. Can a wrist stroke give you a very deep, fulfilling bass, round tone? Maybe, depending on which bell you're using. If you're using a bigger bell, yeah, maybe. But if you want something more articulated, the wrist stroke is a wonderful stroke to use. Okay, now the last one will be a bit more advanced, but I thought of sharing it with you anyway. Okay, it's a combination of wrist, but more using the finger. Now, if you're looking at my second camera, you should be able to see 3 of my fingers flicking the mallet handle. Okay? All right. There you go. Okay, my wrist is moving a little, yes. Okay, but I still call this a finger stroke because more than 90% of the work is done by the finger. Okay, so what's a finger stroke good for? All right, rollings. finger strokes are great for rollings, okay? Because you're not going to be rolling with your arm stroke. I mean, this ain't taiko drumming, okay? Yes, I've got a taiko drum behind. But yeah, this ain't taiko drumming. You're not going to use so much of your wrist because you're going to hurt your, there is a part of your muscle here, I think it's called carpal syndrome or something like that. If you're going to use too much of your wrist repeatedly, it's going to strain, and yes, it's going to be really, really painful. So when we roll, we're going to use finger stroke. Finger stroke's very good for piano, pianissimo kind of notes, volume notes, and of course for rolling as well. Okay, so there we go. We've got the arm stroke, we've got the wrist stroke, and we've got the finger stroke. You know what, if we were face to face right now, like a symposium or a seminar, on the PDF, I put their hands on. This is where I will get you, the participants, to pick up your mallets and play on the bells. But I do hope that you have something to try on back home. If not, when you get back to your handbell room, give it a try. And I think, yeah, I think the video of the festival, of the Glo-Bell festival, should still be on YouTube then. Just retrace it and yeah, follow what I've just mentioned. Okay, next, point number 4, the action and reaction. How on time should you be? Okay, looking up while you're malleting. Now, I wish I could ask you this because I can't see your hands, because I'm going to ask for hands here. How many of you have problems holding a mallet, and then when the director gives you a straight in, and then you are unable to strike your bell at its correct spot? For example, conductor does a straight in. Okay, observe my left hand. Ooh, I just hit the sponge. A little bit of the bell, slice the bell, go into the sponge. Okay, or you are not able to play on time. That you're half a second late. How many of you have got that problem? Raise your hands. Okay, I'm going to imagine 10,000 of you raising your hands. Yeah. Okay, that's because I'm seeing myself only on the screen. Okay, so many of us have that problem. You know, I had that problem too when I was a percussionist in the orchestra. Conductor always says, "Percussionists, can you guys look up at me? We need to be..." And just to share with you the experience of being in an orchestra. Very often, when the conductor does a straight in, there is a thousandth of a second or a hundredth of a second delay before the orchestra should sound. For example, bang. It's so challenging to do that. So our eyes as percussionists got to be perpetually at the conductor. Okay, so this is where looking up on time, looking up and reacting to the conductor's cue to play, and how on time should you be. Now, usually, again, if this was face-to-face, I would ask all of us to do an exercise together. But striking together on time practice, okay, would be something that directors or sectional leaders might want to try with your ringers. Okay, all you need to get them to do is position the mallets on the bells. Okay, the catch is this: when the conductor hands are going to give you the preparatory beat and in, as a ringer, never ever look down onto your bell, because anything could happen along the preparatory beat to the entry point, okay, to where the ictus of the conducting is. Anything could happen. It could be stop, and then you're not looking, you're looking at the bell, and you're going to be striking the bell when the conductor says stop. The microphone's not turned on. Let's do this again. And you've just struck the handbell and you became a handbell mallet solo. Okay? So it's important for us to position the mallet on the bell confidently, without any fear. Okay? And be confident with yourself. Don't shift your arms, don't shift your hands around. Okay? And just look at the conductor. Okay? I'm just going to imagine there's a conductor in front of me. You can be my conductor. And you give me a preparatory beat. And I go. That's it. As you can see from my second camera, and I did not shift, I did not, twitch at all. It's there. Stay there. Okay, one more time. You're going to conduct me, and preparatory beat. That's it. Okay? That's it. So position your mallets on your bell. Lift it up a bit, of course, because we need some space for our own preparatory action as well. Okay? Alright, so we're pretty much following the conductor's movement. Okay, I'm going to just do this in slow motion. Preparatory beat, my mallets go up for preparatory beat and go down together. And I will strike the bell where the ictus is. One more time. Got it? Yeah. So without looking at the bell at all, you've got to be very confident with that. Okay? I think later on I might touch on the topic of holding, if you're a small bell and you need to mallet the bell, how to position the conductor in which part of your bell, so you could see both the conductor and the bell. But I think there is one section in a while later. Okay, so this is where usually if there's a face-to-face workshop or on Zoom, I would ask for questions, but I think we'll leave the questions to a while later. I'm going to move on to the second P, which is plank. If you have any questions, please drop them onto the comments box so that our facilitators and organizers will be able to keep track of your questions. The second P I would like to introduce to you is called plank, precision. Okay? Now, clarity. Ever wonder why sometimes the left hand hits softer than the right? Okay? Now, how many of you have got that problem? Raise your hands. Okay, I'm going to imagine again. There's 100,000 of us who are raising our hands. Good. Okay. And that's because, obviously, the muscle mass on our left hand differs from the muscle mass on our right hand. In other words, one of our arms would be a little heavier. Do you agree? Okay. So, for that, how to train until we could get a good balance. Now, if we were doing a live performance, it's probably not going to be all that bad an issue. Not bad, but it's not going to be a big issue. But if you were doing a recording, then yes, we should try to get a consistent two-hand playing action and sound being produced. Okay? Now, first and foremost, consistent striking point on the bell. This is for training purposes. Okay? Alright, so we're going to just imagine this. If you have a Schumeric handbell, of course, there is a picture of a handbell here. Okay, if you have a Molmark, my Molmark bells are in the boxes, so I won't be taking them out. So just find a spot, a singular spot on the bell handle. Okay, alright, and I'm going to use the second camera for this exercise, as you can see. So I've got the picture of a Schumeric bell on this, printed on the handle. So the exercise will be just keep repeated hitting on the same spot, preferably without looking at the bell. Okay? Preferably without looking at the bell at all. Okay, that's to build your confidence, because different parts of the bell casting will produce different tone, and we covered that already, right, earlier on. So if you were ringing, or if you were malleting on a bell and you're not confident that your mallet is dead center in that spot that you want. If you're not confident with it and your mallet goes all over the place, you're going to get different tones being produced throughout that X number of times that you need to hit. Okay, so it's a combination of confidence building whilst you are hitting, okay, while at the same time trying to produce the same tone. So that will be the exercise. I'm going to show you the exercise again. Simply find a same repeated spot that you want to strike on, okay, and then mallet at that same spot. Now this is where I would like to bring your attention to percussionist versus handbell ringer. Okay, in percussion, in malleting, the marimba, the xylophone, the vibraphone, etc. Now, in music school, we've been taught, in conservatory, we've been taught, okay, let me see this, okay, I'm just going to use the bell as my marimba bar or vibraphone bar. We've been taught to have one hand over the other mallet, one mallet over the other mallet. Okay, this is the, by the way, just for disclaimer's sake, this is the wrong mallet. I shouldn't be hitting on a C4, but I'm just hitting it very lightly. Okay, this would be the position that we will play on the marimba or the vibraphone or the xylophone. Okay, however, on handbells, it is recommended that the mallets are side by side. If you can strike at the same point, that's even better. Okay, but let's look at it from a logical point of view. The bell is circular. The mass, M-A-S-S, the mass and the amount of metal used to create the bell throughout this whole circumference of the bell, it's equal. And so if it's that's the case, whether or not I hit this side of the bell or this top of the bell, as long as it's within the same, if we look at it from a globe, latitude, as long as we hit it at the same latitude, you should be able to get the same tone. Okay? So try to position your mallets at the same latitude throughout your same bell there. Okay, so that's striking on the handle. Practice for consistency and accuracy, tonal production. Okay, another thing that you might want to do is to train the left hand, right hand balance. Now I'm going to use a smaller bell for this. Okay, again using my second camera. Okay, now if we need to play fast, for example, rolls or 16th notes, okay, or semiquavers. Some of us call it semiquavers, some of us call it 16th notes. Okay. Okay, as you can hear, my balance of both the right hand and left hand, it's not really very balanced. When we talk about really balanced, we're talking about think of a machine gun. Yeah, think of a general purpose machine gun. You know, you don't hear a general purpose machine gun that goes then you've got to repair the machine gun before it blows up. All right, so it should sound like a machine gun. To train that, I would recommend that you play semiquavers or 16th notes for a good 2 minutes. Okay, taka-tika, 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 and try to listen for yourself. Is my left hand louder than the right? I admit my left hand tends to be softer than my right. If that happens, then there is a solution to that. Why not tone down the right and push more of the left up? It's pretty much like a sound system. You got a mixer, you got two faders. You find that your left speaker is too soft. Okay, push the left speaker up, pull the right speaker down, and then you should be able to get a balance there. Okay, so let me show you an example of how to tweak this perpetual issue throughout. I'll probably put as many handbell ringers. Okay, so we are going to mallet 16th note. Okay, and I'm going to deliberately play my right hand louder. You hear that? So I'm going to now turn up my left hand and bring down my right hand. Okay, and so with that, we come to almost about a good 95-97% balance. And that's good enough. Because if we wanted 100% balance, we got to put Robocop to play the handbells instead. Okay, so there we go. So that's how we manage what we call the imbalance, okay, of our hands. Now the other one is this: when you need to do a roll. Okay, when you need to do a roll, I'm just going to do a roll, and I'm going to ask you this question in a while. Roll. Okay, did you see both my hands going down at the same time? It's called the two-hand syndrome. How many of you got that problem? Raise your hands. Cool. I've just seen 20,000 people raise their hands. It's very common. It's very common for handbell ringers to roll, and then both hands gets jammed and it strikes together at the same time. How do we practice that? How do we deal with that problem and to practice that? Similar to the 16th notes. Okay. Once you get a good balance of your left hand and right hand, go faster. Okay, give yourself 1 minute, 2 minutes, if you can, 2 minutes. Okay, and keep rolling. Each time a two-hand syndrome comes about, stop. Repeat the progress. It's very much of rote training, R-O-T-E, rote training. Okay, but that was how I was brought up in school days when I was training to be a percussionist during my high school days. Okay, so yeah, 2 minutes is actually quite short because I remember pretty well I was given 15 minutes to get the rolls done. Each time a two-hand syndrome comes, reset the timer. So yes, lots of rote training. Okay, so that's the precision part. Next, point number 7, okay, plunk. The third P, which is plunk, persuasion. Now, body movements and awareness in percussion percussion playing translated into handbell movements on stage. Now, earlier on, you watched the video that I played, the pling plang plunk. Towards the end of this session, in fact, I'm just going to do this one more time so that we are able to watch how I strike the mallets on the bells, okay? And then at the same time, observe how the movement of the body is like, okay? So, let me get this done. Okay, here we go. Gonna share screen. Okay, observe how my movement looks like. It's very, I would say, go with the flow. I wouldn't want to say fluid, but go with the flow. Okay, if it's fluid, it will be like, yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. Okay, so, yeah, here's the video. Check out the movements. One more time, quick time play. This is pling plang plum. Okay, look at how the movements go. Body movements, that is. There. So you realize that whilst I was playing, my waist, the waist, W-A-I-S-T, was very relaxed. Pretty much like similar to what Emily's workshop touched on earlier on. Being relaxed while you play, but at the same time being focused about your movement and aware that the space that you have, okay, the latitude that you have, it's all yours. Okay, so don't strike the bell mallet having to stretch your waist like that, because chances are you're going to sprain your waist and it's really painful, right? So move. If you got bells here, move. If you got bells here, move. Especially if you were a bass bell player, move, because that's what it's all about. So body movements and awareness of your instrument related to your space. Okay, all right. So give that a try. Now, at this point here, I would also like to share with all of you a very famous quote, that is, that when I was in Orlando in 2008, during the national seminar and the International Handbell Symposium. I attended the Pike Peak Ringers ringing session under Kevin McChesney. And these quotes of him never left my mind since that very day at Rosen Creek Country Club and Resort. And he said, 4 inches more movement makes a difference between a good performance and a fantastic performance. I repeat that again. 4 inches more movement makes a difference between a good performance and a fantastic performance. And that's by Kevin McChesney. Okay? So using the mallets, just like ringing, using the mallets, yes, you can have movements too. Okay? Just be aware of your instrument and your space around you and beside you. Okay, next thing with regards to movements, okay? So now we're going to touch on how to move whilst playing. Well, on my screen, on my PDF, it says semi-brief, minim, and crotchet. That's whole note, half note, and quarter notes. So if I were playing a quarter note, okay, I would probably move my, I wouldn't say move my body because, you know, for moving the body, sometimes it takes time to react to hit the bell. So I would say if only you could see my foot, okay, if only you could see my foot, okay, I am not tapping because if I'm tapping my toes, you will get the sound coming out from the stage, right? So what I'm doing is I'm doing a heel tap, okay? And generally when you do a heel tap, the vibration, the movement will actually travel through your body. So if I were playing crotchets, if I were playing quarter notes, okay, I would do a little heel tap so I could not only engage myself in the music, but also feel the pulse better and also to visually show that we are really into it as well. Okay, so that would be for quarter notes. If I had a half note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. If I had a whole note, 3, 4. And why is my hand still moving around? 2, 3, 4, 1. You know, compare it to example B. Whole notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And compare it to a movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, 4 inches more movement makes a difference between a good performance and a fantastic performance. And we're talking in terms of engagement, visual engagement. Yeah? And yes, different strokes, whether is it arm stroke, wrist stroke, finger stroke, that you want to play to produce different volumes, different dynamics, okay, would then require, of course, a different movement. If I were playing a whole note, okay, at pianissimo, that's triple P, okay, and I'll use a mixture of the second bell and the first bell. So pianissimo. Ready? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And I'm still moving. As compared to 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. You see that difference there? Between just striking and staying, compared to striking and trying to fish out. We call this, in percussion, we call this like fishing. You go fishing. Yeah, so we're trying to fish out the sound. I'm fishing out the sound from my timpani. That's what we do when we play the timpani, by the way. I mean, not every timpanist would do that. I would do it, okay, for a visual impact. All right, now, so that's for your semi-brief, minim, crotchet, whole note, half note, quarter notes. Okay, next, freedom of movement. So freedom of movement, your waist, your legs, your arms. Realize that there's so much space around you. Don't just stick to, this is my 3 bells, this is my space. It's 2 feet, that's it. I'm going to ring here. I'm going to mallet here. You know, especially these days too, in the times of pandemic, where in Singapore at least, I'm not too sure about being in USA or different parts of the world, but in Singapore we are doing 1 ringer, 1 6 feet table. I've got here a 4 feet table. Our 6 feet are behind. So 1 ringer, 4 feet, 1 ringer, 6 feet. That equates to so much space. You could even take your mallets and you strike this way. You're not going to hit anybody at all, right? So recognize and be aware of the space around you. Okay, recognize that. All right. So, and next, semiquavers, which 16th notes, quavers, 8th notes, clarity, focus, and finger wrist stroking. Okay. So some of us might have issues with malleting, 16th notes. Okay. And earlier on, I mentioned about using the practice of striking at the same point to get you a uniform, a consistent tonality, clarity, focus strikes. Okay, review that in the video, just for revision. Okay, so it's once again the exercise would then to be to strike at the same point. Okay, in the latitude of the handbell casting, striking at the same point, and trying to listen by yourself and balance the left hand and right hand. Okay, and that way you will be able to get a very clear, consistent, and regular semiquavers or 16th notes. Well, pardon me, in Singapore we use the term semiquavers, and I know many of us also use the term 16th notes. So we got to translate in both ways. Okay, the last thing that we want to talk about here is the rolls. Okay, rolling. Now we've got legato roll, how to link legato rolls. Let me give you an example of what I mean by linking legato rolls. We're not going to use the big bell. I'm just going to put it aside. So I'm going to be rolling on the C. I've got here the C5, D5, E5. So imagine I'm going to be rolling across to the E and back to the C. Okay, how many of us got this problem? Roll on the C. Let's do a whole note. Okay, a semi-brief. Semi-brief, 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 semi-brief. Okay, whole note, whole note, whole note, whole note, whole note. Okay, so it goes like this, 3, 4. How many of us got this problem? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you spot that problem? When I transited from bell to bell, there was this little gap between the bells. It sounded like 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So there is a 8th note gap. How are we going to solve that? Because if it was 5 bars, 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar, 4 bar, 5 bar. If it was 5 bar rolls, preferably it should sound like a full whole note linked to another bar, another measure, right? Another whole note. There shouldn't be any gap in between. So how do we mitigate that issue? Okay, this is what I would recommend to handbell ringers. So when I switch over, and this is of no value, that means no counts, no beats at all. Okay, you're just going to see me switching over. What I do is in slow motion, I would play on the first bell, and when I'm going into the second bell, there is this split moment where both bells are being malleted. Did you hear that? I'm going to switch again to the E. I'm going to switch back to the D. Switch back to the C. Okay? So what I'm trying to say here is this. If you're going to play it fast, you should be hearing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Did you hear the link? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you eliminate that 8th note silence, that 8th note awkward shifting silence. I'm going to do this one more time, okay, so that you're able to see this, okay? One more time. Ready? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. See that? 4. 3, 4. Backwards. 3, 4. Backwards. 3, 4. So I call it the trick behind it. The trick behind it. It's when you switch to the next bell, your previous bell, it's still rolling back. At least one more stroke. Just give it one stroke. Don't give it 2 strokes. If you're going to strike the previous bell by 2 strokes, then chances are you're going to get a very odd sound there, because it's just side by side, right? There we go. Okay, okay, so we've done the roles and how to link. Now, in the last 5 minutes, we're going to talk about the common errors and bad habits. Now, holding mallets too close to the butt. I'm going to put it close to the second camera. Again, just to recap, this is the butt of the mallet. Holding the mallets too close to the butt doesn't give us any form of balance at all. Okay, to make matters worse, some of us might even hold the mallets and then our last 2 fingers has got nothing to hold on. Okay, so that you've got no balance, which is a bad habit, which is a problem that we need to solve. Okay, because we've got the weight at the front, we've got the weight, and we've got the force. The force is coming from either the arm, the wrist, or the finger, and we've got the fulcrum. Right, the lever. The lever is where your second finger and your thumb is. Okay, if it's too far back, then there's too much weight at the front. Okay, if it's too far to the front, then there is no weight. If there's no weight, then you're not going to get a tone out of your bell. Okay, so holding the mallets too close to the butt or the mallet head is an issue. Once again, a recap: the manufacturers created a handle precisely for our hands. So, hands on handle. Improper grip causing lack of clarity of tone. Now, improper grip, earlier on we spoke about the French grip on my second screen. This is your French grip again, where the thumb is pointing downwards. And this is the German grip, where your thumb is pointing sideways. Okay, also known as the matched grip. Okay, try to use these 2 grips, experience it at least, and see whether it's comfortable for you. Now, I've seen wrong grips such as, I'm not too sure whether I can see it on the screen, okay, all right, grips where ringers will hold the mallets until, there is nothing on the thumb here. Can you see this? Because in order to grip a mallet, you should be able to have the fulcrum, the lever, where the second finger and the thumb is separated by the, separated by the shaft, by the handle. Okay, not like this. Okay? Yep. So, improper grips. You need to have a good grip to have a good control tone. Yeah, that's the whole point of it. Good grip, good control. Next one, using wrong mallets. This is a very, very crucial one. I've seen in symposiums. Handbell ringers using glockenspiel mallets, using xylophone mallets, using vibraphone mallets. Handbell manufacturers have come up with their own models of handbell mallets. It's recommended to use them because it's recommended, right? For the bell range. So I do know that Schumerick and Molmark make their own mallets. So if you're using Schumerick bells, consider the Schumerick mallets. If you're using Molmark bells, consider the Molmark mallets. In the Ministry of Bells in Singapore here, my team, we love to use the True Timber mallets. Okay, and that's because personally for me, I like stiff shaft. So that's why I use this one. And the length, it's perfect. It's perfect for us. Okay, crossing hands. The next thing in the last 2 minutes, we're going to talk about crossing hands. Now, crossing hands. Okay, I'm going to do this very quickly. Observe how I cross hands. Now, crossing hands are preferably discouraged, okay? That's because when we cross our hands, sometimes in the moment of excitement, we might just lock our mallets, and then when we lock our mallets or click our mallets on the shaft, it creates an extra sound. So if you had something like E-E-D-E, it will be encouraged for you to use what we call in percussion double strokes. Right, left, right, rather than right, left, right. So there is no risk of clicking or getting interlocked. Okay? So avoid cross hands preferably, especially with the big bells. If you've got a big bell and you want to cross your hands, not recommended. Okay? There we go. So common errors and bad habits. Okay, I'm going to skip the part on Pling Plang Plang part 2. If you have the PDF, go ahead and try it. I've left some pictures there for you. So you could try the Shelley hold, the 2 mallets hold, the holding up and down. Okay, and I did mention about if you had a suspended bell and the conductor's conducting, how should you do it? Now, I would usually ask my ringers, and this is the very last thing that we're going to talk about, to hold the bell up at nose level. I'll say nose level because then I can position the conductor on top of my bell or on top of their bells, okay, and get them to strike the bell from the right in front here. The reason why I would ask them to strike from the front whilst looking at the conductor is because if they struck from the sides, we are not able to tell whether the mallets have overshot the bell casting or not. Okay, some of them got pretty that estimation needs to be worked on. Okay, so when you do this, you might not be able to see the mallet on the bell, so you might just end up using the shaft to hit the bell. Okay, but it's very important to place your conductor in perspective, in visual perspective, so that the ringers are able to enter on time. Okay, and so that's for a suspended bell technique. Okay, with that, we've come to the end of this evening session of Pling Plang Pan, part 1. There is a part 2 for intermediate and handbell, advanced handbell ringers. If you'd like to know more, hopefully someday we'll get a chance to do Pling Plang Plang part 2. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for your presence and for your attendance. Right now, we will take questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek. We're going to have the panel. Derek's going to join us in that little square over there. And you will have our same question people, myself, Barb Sylvie, Diane Barnes, and Shelley Geyer.
Hi again. So, there was one comment in the chat or question. It was about part 6, when to look up and down at the conductor. The person kind of missed what you were saying, Damien, or can you reiterate that?
Okay, the part where how to position the mallets whilst looking at the conductor and ringing on time, is that the one? Okay. So if that's the one, then it's important that we build our confidence with our instrument, which is the handbell, in terms of being very sure and confident of where we want to position the mallets on the bell. Now in this case, handbells, we're going to be striking anywhere along the latitude, if you look at my second screen, anywhere along the same latitude of the bell casting, because it's the same amount of metal. It's a circle. You're going to get the same sound whether I'm going to place the bell this way or I'm going to place the bell upside down or sideways. Okay, but importantly, striking it at the same consistent point. Once you've locked in that this is the point that you want to strike, don't look down anymore. So when the conductor says, okay, ringers, ready? Okay, don't hesitate. Don't look down. The moment you look down and check again, am I at the right bell? Or am I at the right spot? The moment you look down, chances are you're probably going to miss the entry to play together the entry with the conductor. Now, if only this was a symposium where we are face to face, having a workshop, there would actually be an exercise that we will do in the conference room that we are in now. But because it's face to face, I'm just going to try to do this. My right hand's the conductor, my left hand's the player. So I'm confident that my mallets on the bell is not going to shift. You can see from my second camera that the mallet is not shifting or fidgeting at all. It's there. Okay. As the conductor goes and lifts up the baton for the preparatory beat, your mallets goes up together in tandem for preparatory beat. Breathe, yes, breathe. And when the baton comes down to the ictus, strike at the same time with the conductor. Without looking at the bell, I'm going to do this fast, okay? Check this out. Okay, one more time, check this out. Okay, what could go wrong is the moment you look down at your bell, as the conductor does his or her preparatory beat, you might miss the next cue, because the next cue could be the ictus for you to enter, or it could be, wait. You never know. So we got to always keep our eyes on the conductor, even when we are malleting. So the whole idea is position it and be confident. Don't fidget. You're there.
Shelley's got something to say, or? chime in
I
with?
have two questions. Yeah, I have two questions. First, Damien, I've seen bell choirs using the handle on the bell to get a different sound. Do you ever do that?
Yes, using the handles, using the butt, using the shaft. Yes, I do that. Let me give you an example. The prayer by I pray you'll be alright. So I'm not too sure who, I can't remember who arranged the piece for handbells. So I like to play the opening using the handle on the lid. So it gives us a very light, tingly kind of sound. Rather than bing, we get ding. Bing, starting with a letter B, which is what we get. That's a bing. Now, I rather have if I wanted, as a director, I wanted to have a ding, then I would use the handle. Okay, could I use the lid to strike on the bell casting? I could. It gets even lighter, it gets even thinner. It might not even be a ding, it might even be just a, I don't know if there's anything softer than the word T. But, so yes, it's all right, it's perfectly all right to use handles on your bell mallet, on your bell castings or the lid of the bell. But again, a word of caution, be very careful. If you are required to play something like a fortissimo on a bell casting, that's a great no-no, okay? Because first and foremost, the lid's going to crack. Number two, your mallet's probably going to break as well. So don't do that. It's great, I would say, as a director, it's great for piano, pianissimo passages, maximum mezzo piano. I'll probably say nothing more than that.
Thank you. I have one other question, unless somebody else wants to jump in. I should
Go ahead, Jillian. I'll jump in after you.
Okay. Non-percussionists. I think most handbell choirs, the ringers are non-percussionists. Would you go through every step that you would take? First use the French grip, have the same latitude on the bell, and then there's kind of a jump to playing 16th notes and trying to do it evenly with both hands. There's got to be some other steps in the middle there that you would do if you've got non-percussionists.
Thank you for the question. Yes, definitely. There are definitely steps in between that I had to skip because of the workshop that we have. It's an hour workshop. If I were back teaching school bands, then yes, for this, it takes about 3 months to train a percussionist to be able to hold French grip, match grip, how to play eighth notes, whole notes, half notes, all the way up to 16th notes, and then rolls, etc., etc. And one practice per week, 2 hours a week. So it takes about 2 to 3 months to train someone to do that. However, because in the aspect of time, in a workshop like this, we are not able to conduct such structured sessions to go the finer details. And also, bearing in mind again, mallets is only but just, I would probably put it as 30% of the time that you use when you ring handbells. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about 30%. Most of the 70%, it's all about ringing. So again, it's important, and that's why attending festivals like this, Glo-Bell Festival, it's excellent point, excellent moment for handbell ringers to come together to hear all the finer details of all the other finer parts towards malleting. So yes, there are steps. There are even more steps. I could do this, like I said, in 2 months or 3 months worth of training. Yes.
Okay, I had a question or just a clarification, I guess, for the French grip and the German grip. My understanding, and it may be wrong, is that the position of the mallet in your hand is the same with the forefinger and the thumb, and the other one's stabilizing it. And then when you change the position that the mallet hits on your hand changes when you go from to German, but it's a second.
Yes.
the same. You start.
Okay.
Can't hear
Diane, pardon
Damien.
me. Sorry, pardon me. Your internet was going in and out, but am I right to ask that your question was if you were to use or change the position of the grip? I'm using the second screen now. Between the French or the German, there's a chance that the butt of the mallet might strike your wrist. Is that correct?
No, I was just saying that essentially the grip you have is the same, except when you change from the French to the German, the butt of the mallet changes the position in your hand that you're cradling. I don't know. It's not like a totally different position that you're holding the mallet by.
Okay, so I will take this in two parts then. I will dissect the question in two parts, which is why the Ministry of Bells, we like to use shorter mallets, okay, so that when we turn between the match grip or the French grip, okay, German grip or French grip, the butt doesn't, nothing obstructs the butt of the mallet. Now, from the screen that you were holding onto, was that a Greg Ashworth Schumeric mallet? So those mallets are much longer, and they are great. They are great mallets too. But in Singapore, we try to use the shorter mallets because, as a percussionist, you are right. I do like this is a standard Yamaha that I'm holding, a Yamaha mallet. Okay. And you can compare the length of it. This is a Mike Bolter vibraphone mallet, and you can look at the difference in length. Okay, so yes, if we held the Mike Bolter at the same height as the true timber mallet, then we're going to have a lot of excess butt showing here at the no pun intended, but this thingy here, check this out. Okay, so it's going to be hitting your wrist. So if that's the case, I would recommend to lower down. So for a general rule of thumb, I would probably say about 1.5 to 2 inches between your last finger and the butt of the mallet. Let me put close to the second screen. 1.5 to 2 inches from your last finger to the butt. Okay, be it a long mallet or a shorter mallet. I mean, you look at the difference between the mallets. It's almost 2 inches difference between a vibraphone and a true timber mallet. Okay, did that answer the question, Diane?
Yeah, pretty much.
1 minute.
Okay, I have a question that's about malleting large bells. Can you say something about malleting the larger bells? How you would do that?
Managing the malleting the larger bells. Now we will realize that the shaft, the handle of the bass bells, they tend to be thicker, right? Schumeric has got thick handles. Molmark has got the blue and the yellow mallet. They've got thick handles as well. So yes, we do need a thicker mallet handle so that we have a better grip. So that we have a better grip to use the arm stroke. Because if it was just a thin mallet like this, and chances are, if we're going to use the arm stroke, the mallet is probably going to fly off. Control is all that matters. That's what it's all about. So thick mallets would be useful. Thicker handle mallets, that is, thicker. Okay, and arm strokes on bass bells would be useful because you need the space and distance.
Looks like we're out of time. So I guess we move on, Derek, or to Barb, or get ready to do the content or the.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Area 10.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you,
Shelley
Damien.
and Diane.
Damien.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, another short break, and I mean short. It'll only be about a minute. We'll reconvene where Emily and Damien will share some information about their handbell programs and will present short virtual concerts by the handbell musicians in their programs. You will not want to miss this. Welcome back. It's been so long. We're ready to open the floor to Emily Lee and Damien Lim, share information about their handbell groups and programs, and share some of the music they have been making. We'll begin with Emily and find out what is happening with handbells in Hong Kong. Handing off to Derek, as this part is way above my pay grade. Enjoy, Emily's students and handbell ringers.
Hello again. So welcome back to the concert. In today's concert, we will be featuring the Hong Kong Youth Handbell Ensemble. That's the major ensemble in the Handbell Academy. The ensemble is formed in 2005. We auditioned ringers from the school program in Hong Kong during summertime, and after they received a 5 days intensive training for 15 hours in total, and then they were admitted into the youth ensemble. So basically it's a weekly training. We have groups divided into different levels, and so we have the junior level will have ringers with experience maybe 1 year to 1.5 years, and then the senior group ringers may be with us for over 6, 8, or even 10 years. So the age of the group goes from 11 all the way up to uni. It's quite a very extensive range, so we need to divide them into different groups, and so that they could progress through their training. And so every week we will have a 1.5 hour rehearsal. The senior group we have 2 hours, and that's what we do regularly. And during concert time, the senior group, we call them elite. The elite group will have intensive rehearsals during holidays, and so that they could present the whole concert annually. Talking about the elite group, which is also the performers of today's concert. The elite group is another audition group within the youth ensemble. So after ringers, they are trained for a few years. They have performed in concerts and other small performances. And if they are very keen to move on and have more in professional training, in performance, in bells, and they are ready to commit to their fullest. And so they could apply for the elite group audition, and then we will interview them, we will talk to them and see if they're really keen to do so. So the elite members, they are very well trained in their foundation, and so in the group we can spend more time to work on the performance things, such as the musicality. When we learn a piece, we will we'll go into very detail. We'll talk about the music, we'll research about the music, and then we experiment with different sounds, just like the workshop I did this morning. And we also like to incorporate a lot of small gimmicks, performance practice in the music, so they could fully enjoy at their age, where in the teens age, where they could absorb things like a sponge, and they are the most energetic group of ringer in the world, I would say. So we try to provide them with as many opportunities as possible to explore on the repertoire, on the performance styles and things, etc. So in a way to prepare them when they leave the group, or when they have a chance to, they want to become a handbell conductor, then they will have a full range of experience in their handbell learning life when they're young. So this evening or this morning, we're going to present 3 pieces to you, performing at different time of the year. The first piece is called Revelation. It's performed very recently in May in our recent concert after the pandemic. So it's written by Kathy Mogubus. They're playing it from memory and without the conductor. So this is something we like to have one piece in every concert. So they will have a go to memorize things, and also they could enjoy themselves to the fullest without looking at the conductor, so they could really communicate among each other. The second piece is Out of the Silent Planet by Alex Guber. This piece was performed in their 2019 concert, so right before the pandemic. And in this piece, we have used some lighting effects to create the spatial environment with the disco ball shining. And then when we learned this piece, we actually have played a couple of space theme music, like Andromeda by Nancy Haskell. We played Cosmic Dance by Sandra Tucker, and then we played this piece by Alex Guber. And all of them carries a different character and with the space theme. And so in the process of rehearsal, it's kind of interesting because we have to think differently, although the same group of people have played through all the pieces. So just enjoy the stage effect that we add into the piece and see how you like it. The final piece is played in the latest concert tour to Helsinki and Estonia, again in 2019 August. So the piece is called Dance of the Yao People, arranged by Toshikazu Yoshida. This is a Chinese theme, a Chinese song, and it expressed the very beautiful scenic and the life of the Yao people, which is one of the tribal people in mainland China. So as the music goes by, it has very beautiful scenery, is very expressive, lively dance in the middle part, and then a very exciting ending towards the finale. So this is performed in the St. John's Church in Estonia. So I hope you will enjoy this little virtual concert and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. It's amazing how hard your students have worked to share their dynamic program with us and many others. Now we'll move on to Damien Lim to learn what is happening in Singapore with handbells. Take it away.
Well, good morning. Actually, it's good afternoon now from Singapore. Yes, so ringing behind me right now, the Ministry of Bells have just come in during the little break, and they are doing their setup and they're about to start rehearsal. So that's the ringers over there. That's where they're almost ready to play for the rehearsal. But I'd like to introduce to you this team. The Ministry of Bells, we were formed in 2007, and it was with the objective of creating a space, a new space for former school handbell ringers to ring here in Singapore. Most of our ringers in Singapore are actually students from schools, and when they graduate from schools, they do not have handbell groups to play in. So that was why the MOB, Ministry of Bells, was formed in 2007 with that objective, and of course also with the objective of creating awareness of handbells to the general public here in Singapore. The MOB, we ring on 5 sets of handbells ranging from Walmark, Shumerick, and Whitechapels. And the ringers, right now we have about 60 over ringers, 60 over, but we function as one team. So what happens is every week we have different ringers coming in to ring different songs, and they book the places to come in to ring with us. That's right. And the team is a non-audition handbell ensemble, and that's why we have quite a big number of ringers or members in our team. The MOB, we enjoy ringing music pieces that are what we term as familiar favorites, be it to handbell ringers or to the general public, especially those in Singapore. And because handbells in Singapore, it's still quite a very young stage in the community, and that's why we try to attract them and create an interest and awareness by playing familiar favorites, some of which will be performed today for all of you. The MOB, we've got of the 60 over ringers that we have, we've got a mixture of age groups. The youngest we have is she's 12 years old, and the right all the way up to about 40 years old. The MOB has we perform every year in an annual concert, and this year we've just completed live with 200 audiences in our 14th concert, number 14. Each year we try to make it a point to invite a foreign guest conductor to come in to conduct and work with our MOB ringers. So some conductors include Michael Glasgow, Nick Hansen, Emily Lee, Malcolm Wilson, Debbie Rice, and the unique thing about what we have a program here in Singapore handbells is for Ministry of Bells is we too invite foreign guest ringers. So if there's a chance next year or the following year, and when we have an open call through the to invite guest ringers to ring with us, do consider that an opportunity to come to Singapore to enjoy the summer weather here and of course the food here in Singapore. The pieces that will be playing today for you on screen, they are Brazil, and followed by Battle Hymn of the Republic, and then Despacito, that's right, by Louis Fonsi and Justin Bieber, and last but not least, The Greatest Showman. And so on behalf of the Ministry of Bells and myself, we would like to thank HMA Area 10, Derek, Shelley, Diane, and Bob for having us this morning to be with all of you. Stay safe, take care, and we love you all. See you soon next year in Nashville, but next month we'll be back again at the National Seminar online. Catch us then. Thank you so much. Good day, good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I've always had this dream that I wanted to run away and join the circus. Has anyone else had this dream? You know, they say that if you have a dream, you have to follow that dream. So I've decided today that I am going to travel to the greatest show, and I'm going to see the greatest showman, and I'm going to ask him for a place in the greatest show. So, can you do me a favor and give me all the encouragement you can? Okay. And also, to send me off with the greatest enthusiasm with the Bing Blast Blues, so I can go there with all the energy. And first of all, I need to wear my mask. Yeah. Right, so, remember, with all the energy in the world, Bing Blast Blues, and I shall be off to the greatest show. 1, 2, go! A bim, a blast, and a blues!
Thank you, Damien. Wow, your ringers are so fantastic, and you can put a show together, dude. We love what's happening with handbells in Singapore. Well, that's it for the evening. The virtual concert were expiring, and this will wrap up things for tonight. This has been a great start to a wonderful weekend. We will reconvene at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, so sleep quickly. We'll be heading to Scotland with Malcolm Wilson. You won't want to miss it. See you tomorrow.